we were speaking to Jack before there. It was one of those kind of perfect performances last weekend, and I'm guessing it's that kind of resolute performance, patient performance that you will need to replicate over the last 6 matches.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I wouldn't sit here and say we were the better team on the day. I thought Hearts 11v11 in the early part of the game were the better team, but my players showed really good discipline, really good organisation. Jack Walton's had one very good save to make in the first half from Kabunga, but Kabanga apparently, apart from that, he hasn't had a great deal to do. So that organisation was crucial to us at the beginning of the season, and it enabled us to keep a number of clean sheets and to pick up a lot of valuable points. And the last 2 performances in particular, albeit haven't been very pretty on the eye, they've been crucial in order for us to have been in the position that we're in right now, having kept 2 clean sheets and picked up maximum points in both games.
Talking about that clean sheet, obviously Cleo Harding came in very late on, performed admirably, probably better not having had 24 hours to think about it and maybe not asleep that night. It's great that you've got talent like that to call on at your disposal, particularly for this crucial run.
Yes, Sam is a player that we have got real high hopes for. He's got a lot of potential. If you were looking at the profile for a modern day centre back, he ticks a lot of boxes. Of course, he's got a lot to do in terms of his development still. But the reason we brought him back from Kelty was because he had such a good, successful loan period there in the first half of the season. We felt that if we could bring him back in January, the hope was always to get him some minutes on the park. Now, obviously, the game at Hearts, that wasn't in the plans, but the fact that he was ready mentally and physically to go and perform to the level that he did against really good opposition. Wilson was in the national senior team only a couple of weeks ago. Kabangu's a real handful. Obviously Lawrence Shanklin comes on for the last 20-25 minutes, so he's playing against a really good level of opposition and more than handled himself. There are, as I said, still parts to his game that we need to continue to work on and develop, but he's certainly got a great future in the game.
The downside obviously was the injury to Ross, and obviously Vichko as well, who I think has probably been one of your standout performers. I heard on the podcast on the way down, I was listening to the Drone Fox, and they called him the best player in Northern Europe. So fair play to them. They can go with that kind of hyperbole, but they have been massive. Both of those players have been hugely important to you. Is there a chance that they'll be back in and around it for this weekend? Yeah,
I mean, with regards to Ross Graham, obviously had to be very patient in the middle part of the season, with Kevin Holt performing so well, and then things transpired with Kev in the winter window, and Ross Graham got his place back in the team, and he's been performing very consistently. He's had a couple of little niggles in terms of the injuries, which obviously that's what set him back on Sunday against Hearts. We're hoping that it's nothing too serious. I think it'll be touch and go for this weekend, but we would expect him to be back available for the first game post-split. And Vichko Sevelj will be a 50-50 for the game against St Johnstone. He's probably been our, I would say, along with Will Ferry, our most consistent performer of the season. Had a bit of a slow start in that first game against Falkirk away from home. But really grew into his position in the team, and the fact he can play a number of positions as well just shows what a crucial player he is for us.
And finally, kind of on to St Johnstone, I wouldn't have called it a shock. It was maybe a surprise result, but the performance that they showed wasn't anything that I haven't seen before already. Just they haven't been consistent with it. This isn't going to be an easy match at Tannadice, is it?
It's definitely not going to be easy, and I mean, the past couple of fixtures that we've had against St Johnstone certainly haven't been a walk in the park for us, albeit we've picked up a couple of good positive results. But I have to take my hat off to Simo Valakari. I love the way he has his team playing. It's quite a refreshing way to see the game being played. Real bravery in the back areas to try and play their way through trouble. There has been a few occasions where they've caused themselves one or two problems, but I think what he's done recently, defensively, they seem to have a better shape about them. They look a lot more organised. It's as if the players are really understanding now what the players are asking of them, both in and out of possession. And I think they've had 6 clean sheets, I think, in the last 10 or 11 fixtures. So Defensively, they've certainly improved. They've got very comfortable players all over the park, and we need to make sure that we get things right out of possession to put them under pressure. And then when we do have the ball, we need to do a lot more on it than what we have done in the last couple of games.
Fantastic. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Looking at the league, it's very, very tight. With 10 points from 6 to the bottom of the league, so you must be glad to have got that out of the way and got this top 6 guarantee last weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would not like to be Hearts, Motherwell, St Mirren, going into this last game before the split with so much to play for. Of course, we're delighted that we were able to relieve ourselves of that pressure. But at the same time, like I said before and after the Hearts game, it's not a case of us taking things easy now. The boys have worked extremely hard here this week in preparation for the St Johnstone game. We've got an opportunity on Saturday against the bottom club in the division to go and try and take maximum points and try and put more pressure on the teams above us, and depending on how results go, extend the points that's between us and 6th at the moment. So a lot of incentive still there for us as a group, and adding to that, we've got, I think, in excess of 10,000 fans coming to support us at Tannadice, who are all paying hard-earned money to come and watch their team. So we've got a duty to them to make sure that we perform to a high standard.
The 45-point mark that was set obviously at the start of the season has now been surpassed, so well done with that. Has there been a new target set for where you want to be in 5 games?
Well, yes, 45 was the target that we set way back at the beginning, and we felt that 45 points would be enough to guarantee top 6, and thankfully that has been the case. We've got a chance to exceed that at the weekend to get the 50 points, I think it is. So that would be unbelievable with 5 games still to go, and that would put us in a really strong position going into the 5 games after the split to try and grab one of those European places.
How much would that European spot mean to both yourself and to Dundee United in the first year back in the top league?
Yeah, well, I think I've said it numerous times in recent weeks about how the objectives have changed as the seasons went on. Pre-season, it was about getting enough points to stay in the league. Then, having been in the top 6 all season pretty much, it was about, can we achieve that target of top 6? And now that we're there, sitting 5th in the table, not a million miles off the 3rd place, we have to keep pushing, we have to keep believing, and that will be now the objective between now and the end of the season. But I don't want to put too much pressure on the group. I don't want to make it look like a failure if we don't get there, because I think what the group have done up to now is remarkable. I think we've exceeded all expectations. I think we've punched well above our weight, and I think we've shown what togetherness and character and a good positive culture can do, and we want to build on that.
Ross Docherty has shown in the last 2 games, obviously, what he brings to Dundee United in the middle of the park. You'd be keen, obviously, to hope that he sees out the end of the season and further there. Yeah,
I've spoken to Doc, on a one-to-one basis about the importance of the next few weeks for him. He's only been available for half the games, this season, which is not enough for a player of his calibre, such an important figure in the group. And I think he's shown in the last couple of weeks, the difference he can make to the team. I don't think it's a coincidence that we've looked so organised in the last couple of weeks, that we've managed to keep 2 clean sheets. But again, I would have to give credit to the group because of how well we've managed to cope without key players all season. We've had numerous injuries, even there the game against Hearts at the weekend. We lose 2 of the defenders that performed so well at Ross County, in Ross Graham and Vichko Sevelj, and Declan Gallagher and Sam Harding come in and perform admirably. We've had to go without Ross Docherty for most of the season. Someone else has stepped into those shoes, and I think that's what it's all about. I think that's why the recruitment is so important, that you build a really good competitive group, that when injuries and suspensions occur, you've got other players that are of a similar standard to come in and take their place in the team.
Last one's about VAR, so slightly away from things. It's more disappointing decisions have been made this particular week that have been highlighted from there. How does that sort of reflect for yourself that the purpose of VAR is to get things right and it's not happening?
Look, I don't really want to get embroiled in a political debate about VAR. My views on VAR remain the same. I think it's there to improve the game. It's there to ensure that we get the important decisions correct. of course, sometimes, there has been mistakes and, human errors which can occur. But I think we have to be careful, how we go about it. I don't think VAR is going anywhere. I think it's here for good. I think the people who are using the system need to improve. I think the education needs to continue, and I think, hopefully going forward we'll make less mistakes. But all of the top sports out there, if you look at the rugby or the NFL, tennis, whatever, they're all been using these VAR systems for a number of years, and as usual in football, we're playing catch up. I think the fact that we have it here now, I think we need to embrace it, but of course we need to eradicate some of the mistakes that have been made.